Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back here with another episode of GrandLine Grinders. Hopefully, your favorite One Piece TCG podcast out there. And we're back this week talking about another very interesting week
Yep.
of One Piece results and events
Yep.
and news. And I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host Kevin G, and we also have our wonderful guest, returning guest, Kekfile, wonderful competitive player, streamer, a little bit of a coacher and content creator, and so on and so forth. So lovely to have you back, Kek. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing good actually, right? Nats it was good for me and in one way only. But I'll go over that, right? But other than that, got my invite to the next nationals,
Nice.
which is big, right? And ready to talk about some One Piece and talk some shit.
All right.
Yeah.
And how are you doing this week, Kebby?
I'm doing great. So today we're going to be talking about, of course, power rankings, talking about how, how the competitive stuff unfolded since nationals, of course, getting into nationals and the experience of Keck there. And we're going to talk about potentially what decks from PRB02 gained a lot, maybe can compete with the next, if there's ever another big tournament before OP13. And let's go ahead and dive right into the power rankings. So the power rankings, we do have Calgera coming back. So for some reason now we have 3 yellow decks at the bottom half of this power rankings, with Shanks, of course, being the worst deck in the format on top 10. But Teach is staying around at 6. That's the only black deck left over. And of course, we have the same 4 consistently at the top. What are you guys' opinion on this current?
Yeah, I think that the more I've played this meta, the more I've really figured out that I'm really happy with it, and I think it is going to go down as one of the best competitive metas we've had maybe ever. I don't know if it's a top 1 meta, but it's definitely in my top 5 so far pretty easily, and it just does have a decent amount of interplay. Obviously, there's some decks that can nut draw you and totally steamroll you, with Blue Purple Luffy being the main culprit. But it does feel like now there's a decent square of there's Blue Purple Luffy, there's the aggro decks that are good against Blue Purple Luffy. Then there's the mid-range decks like Bonnie that are good against the aggro decks. And then you also have the yellow decks that are good against Bonnie and some of the aggro decks as well. And then you get this nice little square, but that's been my experience at least.
The ceiling right now for not the skill ceiling, but the power ceiling, when decks just draw really good, right? It's been at an all-time high, right? Decks, if you'll see many times where both players come in and they both high roll each other, and it's an actually kind of hard game, right, to actually overcome in any scenario, right? And obviously high rolling as let's say Blue Purple Luffy can mean 2 different things if you're facing a Rayleigh or a Bonnie. You want top end against Bonnie, so you high roll them, right? But Rayleigh, you actually just need all counter. So there's that balance of the high roll right now.
So my biggest critique about this meta is I don't think it's very good for color diversity at all. Next format I think is better because Ace feels more like a blue deck than red. So you do get a little bit more, you can actually get blue represented in the actual color. Here we have 2 purple decks, 1 red, 2 red decks, 3 yellow, 1 black, rest pretty much green. The color diversity I don't think is the best.
I mean, what are we looking for? Just a mono blue deck? Is that really what we're missing out of this chart?
It feels like the color diversity is high.
Mono blue to me has always been a value deck, right? And it doesn't a value color, and it doesn't really get a lot of value right now. Probably its best deck being Bluezon and Blue Doflamingo, actually still. So, but I will tell you, when green's good, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, so my comment is also more related to nationals, because
Yeah.
there was no black deck top 30, 32 either. So
yeah,
so it was
which I
even less
surprised.
diverse.
I was really surprised that Blackbeard didn't make top 32. There were a lot of Blackbeards around, actually.
So that pretty much means
Yeah,
this shouldn't be. This being 6 is kind of a joke then, if that's the case. If none of them made top 32.
I mean, it's better than Anel, Calgara, Kid, and Shanks. So
yeah. It still has a decent win percentage, right? It didn't do well in that one tournament. It just seems like it's a deck that you have a tough time getting to the top, but it seems like there's a lot of people who do consistently like make top 64 with it and do pretty well on the ranked ladder as well, just because of like how popular Bonnie is as well.
yeah.
And I feel like you can get a decent blue-purple matchup as well with Teach, which is one of its biggest upsides. But
yeah, a lot has to actually go right for Luffy to win that matchup. But even though Teach is actually the most consistent deck against decks like blue-purple Luffy, if you're able to go first, and you can even look in this little chart here, as Teach, you just have a much higher win rate than going second. You actually have a much it's like if you're playing Luffy, it's like 25% if you're forced to go second. For some reason, the first Teach curve, just hitting like a 5-7 on curve is like really gross. And a lot of Luffys aren't even like teching for a lot of Blackbeards anymore. They're teching for the Mir and for Zoro. So, but like, cause that's actually what you're gonna see most of. And at Nats, I face mostly Zoros. There's mostly Zoro in the room.
Oh, I could believe that based off the top 32.
yeah,
That makes sense. I mean, also I think Blackbeard gets really punished if you pair wrong, more so than other decks.
Yeah,
It's
I knew a couple
abysmal.
Blackbeards. They faced were Rayleighs and they were not liking it at all.
Yeah, it's not.
yeah, where it's like,
I should correct myself because it didn't make top 32. Doesn't mean it's a bad deck. I still enjoy it. So
yeah,
it's just sad to see no black or blue really represented in the top 32 of Nats, except for blue purple Luffy,
Yeah.
which doesn't really count.
What's a black deck that's not Blackbeard? That's good. Just Sakazuki and Lucci.
yeah,
Right?
but both
Yeah.
of those decks have just proven to not really be good enough, right? Especially minus Ice Age.
They've been proven. I think it just recently won like another regional somewhere, right? Lucci, right? On another region. And yeah,
It was a while
Lucci's
back,
only
I
gotten
think.
like it's just too good. It keeps getting restricted. However, at a national level, out of 10 rounds, when everyone's playing blue purple Luffy, you're probably not gonna have a good time, right? I'm sure like any regional is fine, but nationals you're facing against people just took a bunch of coin flips. Like literally all day was a bunch of coin flips. As far as the decks go, right?
Yeah, I just still like, I'm kind of high on it because it does kind of feel like the difference between a lot of the decks and power level isn't as wide as it is in some other formats, like the difference between tier 1 and tier 2.
Yeah.
The tier 2 decks need to hit good matchups, right? But it does still feel like you have a lot of options. And I don't know, I'm definitely a lot further away from that, like every game is high roll or low roll as you are. I think that like low roll games happen, and those are like the most fun games in the meta right now for sure.
I'm just thinking more games end up being like a high roll versus high roll, and that's all.
Yeah, and that can be interesting, but I think the interesting thing about the stats here is definitely that you have Rayleigh and Bonnie and Teach as the 3 highest straight up win percentage decks, with like blue purple Luffy finally falling in win percentage to like a regular 51-ish percent.
If you look at the volume though, it gets
Yeah.
crazy. And I don't know if you know this, dude. There are so many bad blue purple Luffy players. I go on live streams, I watch this kind of stuff. I'm helping my friends. I'm like, dude, what are you even doing, bro?
The difference between a mediocre blue purple Luffy and a good one is very, very huge in the late game when you're like at 1 or 0 for sure. But yeah, when you high roll in like into like the triple ramp into Sanji Mihawk draws, it is
No
kind
one
of
can mess that
insane.
up. But what ends up happening is a lot of novice blue purple Luffy players, they don't think holistically. They just see Gum Gum Giant and defensive cards, right? Generally, what the deck is, you just get one big guy out and then play Rosie Nami forever. But a lot of people, one thing, their biggest mistake is they don't bottom deck their top 5 enough, right? I'm constantly bottom fiving top 5 if I don't have the cards I need in order to win X matchup. And I've just noticed that when I face some players, like, you bottom deck a lot. Like, I'm like, yeah, because I need good cards, and they're like, oh, well, that's like really good. Like, it's actually more scary for them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I would assume it's because most of the players that are not experienced with the deck think it's more about the deck's all about Sanji more than anything else, because they're always trying to set it up for the Sanji, which it really isn't. You should be going.
It's a win more a little bit, but it's really good. Like,
yeah, but that mentality, I think, is a trap.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like tapping out every turn. I definitely think that, like, if you just play the deck more of the style of like, all I need to do is continue living, like do everything possible to guaranteed not die.
Yeah.
And if I just do that, I will eventually win by the strength of like my leader and the cards in play. And some people are like like they just want to slam their Sanjis or their 8 drops, and then you get Hody Jones. Yeah, they're like, oh, I'll leave 1 up. That's enough, or 2,
don't get me wrong. Sanji's actually fairly good, but like most of the time, you're not even like looking to Sanji Mihawk. You want to like Sanji Rosinade. Like, you know, like that actually is like one of the better plays. Just so you have 3 on up and you can't just like auto lose to like some aggro.
I did want to touch on something that DeHaffreed said earlier. I didn't get a chance to talk before this point about it. So I do think he does bring up one good point. The best thing about OP12 meta right now is I think the distance between the best decks and the rogue tier 2 decks is not as that far. And that is one thing that even VV Theory brought up, is that once it's really hard to play those rogue decks and tier 2 decks in OP13. OP13, that the gap is so much more that those rogue decks now are kind of obsolete. But at the same time, I'm like, the reason why I'm kind of excited about OP13 is because you do have a blue deck and ace. You do have a red, every color actually becomes represented, because, every color, every leader, every deck is fleshed out there. So every color is a part of the meta at that point, because you'll have Emu, you'll have all these different colors. But I do understand that I get DeHaffreed's point. Like, this meta is actually closer, so your rogue Calgera could actually probably top if you may be able to top if you're a good player with it. So, but it's going to be a lot harder to do once Emu comes out, Ace comes out.
I will say it's kind of interesting you say that. I mean, those decks are a little more destructive of rogue decks, but even so, Blackbeard and Bonnie are just as destructive against rogue decks, and Rayleigh. Like,
that's a valid point.
Yeah, and
Blackbeard is destructive against a lot of things, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I face rogue decks as blue purple Luffy, and I have to just go, okay, well, I'm just gonna do my leader ability and hope I live, and usually I do.
And you're definitely not wrong. Teaches will be really good into ace, because it turns off I'm pretty sure it turns off the extra card draw if you play down 10 drop Teach and deactivate their leader. She'll be able to swing right in and not have them get that extra card.
I guess so, but I'm not saying ace is like the rogue deck. Blackbeard's probably going to be more of a rogue deck.
That's what I'm saying. Ace, Blackbeard is the rogue deck. I'm saying it would have a leverage
my bad.
Against the best decks.
I think that definitely, like, you have to, as a rogue deck, you have to keep the top decks in mind. And there's some that you lose to, but it still feels like, because the top decks are like 4 kind of different decks in blue, purple, Zoro, Bonnie, Rayleigh. If you, as a rogue deck, you're like, okay, I'm going to pick 2 to beat and I'll pick 2 to lose to, you can have some decent tournaments if you run hot. And like that, I think, feels pretty good, where their rogue decks aren't just like, oh, I beat one deck and I fold to everything else. they're
Yeah.
like a little bit more flexible currently, but
I think you need a
there
better...
definitely is like there's a floor as well. It feels like there is definitely a floor of there's a lot of older leaders that you just cannot play at all. Like you have to pick something that is like at least somewhat with newer stuff viable. And like that floor, it gets raised a lot in OP13 for sure. But
I'm going to do a little bit of pushback. I don't think that's 100% accurate. I think you would have to pick 2 decks you're good against. One deck you're 50-50 or close to it. You want to like be like a 45% or higher. You want to be able to snag a couple wins from one deck, and then the other deck you could take a loss. But I don't think you can get away with 2 being good, 2 being bad. You have to have one of those bads kind of be closer.
I think you're wild if you take a matchup that's like you have an auto loss against 2, like these days too. It's tough living in an auto loss world.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you're doing sometimes if you're playing Blue Yellow Nami or Shanks, I guess, huh? That's funny. People really believe in Blue Yellow Nami, but it just doesn't seem to go anywhere.
It does well. I can go over that later. But they have to do weird strategies.
Yeah.
They have to do
All
some...
right. I think it's a good time to transition into talking about Nats a little bit, because it's kind of funny that we all feel differently about the format as a whole, like looking back on it.
Yeah.
But
it'll last a week longer. So
yeah. So let's go ahead and pivot over. Let's start off with asking the question, Kek, how was your experience with the actual thing? And give us your personal feedback.
Great. Yeah. Let's go over all the things, and I'm not gonna this isn't just like a way to say, play TCG, Bondi messed up, not like too much slander, but I was talking about everything, right? I'm actually gonna start with LCQ. Because I'm not sure if a lot of people are aware of what happened with LCQ, right? So last chance qualifier, it was only 512 players. People were allowed to show up the day of and try to get in the day of wait list, right? They did something kind of interesting, but I had a friend who was affected by one thing, and then I'm gonna go back to the interesting thing. Okay, so he showed up a little late because it wasn't very clear on what time he needed to be there. He showed up like at 9:10. He needed to be there like before 9 and scan like 2 things. So him and like 80 other people were told, you are no longer in the tournament. You were late, or you didn't scan this thing right, so you're no longer in the tournament, right? Obviously, 80 people are very upset.
Damn.
Other people are getting in the tournament, whatever, right? I heard, maybe it's a rumor, if it was a power trip, let's just say they were being nice. They actually opened up LCQ. They let everybody in who wanted in to pay $30. They can get in. And so they, instead of having 500 players, they had 1,870 players.
Yeah.
Okay. So an extra $40,000 just landed in their pocket, right? Which is, I think everyone was happy, actually, with the players were happy. The only problem was my friend, who was one of those players that were, they couldn't get back in, right? They told them, okay, we can let you back in the tournament, but you have to get a round 1 loss. You'd be like, my friend, he just literally walked up and registered. Can I unregister, pay another $30 and get in, and just not to get a round 1 loss? And they said they couldn't do that. It wasn't possible. You have to get a round 1 loss. They can't unregister you and re-register you. It doesn't work that way. So 80 people round 1 had a round 1 loss just standing there, but like 80 people had a round 1 bye. So that didn't make any sense at all. They were just like hanging out like for round 1. And for LCQ, it's kind of cool. They actually made it so only 9 rounds, X and 2. So they almost did it right. If they didn't fuck up the round 1 loss, right, it actually would have been really ideal for both play money-wise and the players. And plus, they get an extra 200 people into Nats, which is another, 200 entries, right? And everyone's happy, honestly. So
basically one of the first uncapped events we've had, right? And so like everybody wants uncapped events. That would be sick.
That would be sick. If Vegas was uncapped LCQ, I think that actually, I feel like that would be the tournament to go to. I would want to play in that, but unfortunately I'm in the event. So pretty cool if that would have happened in Vegas. And it's just a lot of money. Like, why not? Right? Do that again. Going into Saturday, right? And there's already like line issues. By the way, a line is actually a suggestion. Just so you know, you could just walk up to a line and say, hey, what's up? And just walk into a line. I didn't do that, but that's what people were doing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I'm not even going to go into the retail part of things. That was the biggest hogwash. I'm sure you've seen the picture of people, 1,000 people holding their phones up to scan a QR code to get into the wait list so they can wait in line to get product, right? It was absolutely really bad. But I finally get in after a couple hours, and we're told, tournament's going to be in like an hour or so, right? I go to the retail line because I got like a scan code as well, but it was a no-go. Like, I'm not wasting like 2 hours now. I had to go to number 2. Okay, straight up, guys. I'm gonna tell you the story about the bathrooms. Okay, listen, there are arcs here. So I talked about the security arc, right? The Friday arc. Now we're in the bathroom arc. Okay, I go to like there's one men's bathroom. Okay, there's 3 men's bathroom. One's for faculty in the corner. The other one's for side events, and the other one's for everybody else. Okay, like all the other like 6 competitive games that were going on, and people just hanging out at the thing. Or unless you go outside security, there was another bathroom.
So there's 5 nationals and 2 toilets. 2 bathrooms.
2 bathrooms. You could go to the side event area. I walked over there. There was 10 judges. Like, you can't come over here unless you're at a side event. They didn't even have signups ready for side events, so no one was able to walk over there, right? And I'm like, well, this is kind of an emergency, and I'm in the main event. I don't want to be late if I have to go through security, because right now there's like a 45-minute line to wait just for a stall. Like, I'm going to walk back to my hotel and use the bathroom. And they're like, sorry, that's just for side events. Like, it's like out of their control. I'm like, okay. So I imagine me waiting an hour and a half through security to walk out past security to go use the bathroom somewhere else. And it's really funny that the guy 2 stalls from me said there was no more toilet paper. He was able to get toilet paper, right? So you could see how dire the situation is for some people, right? Like how sad it's about to get. And then finally, I get back to security. It goes too fast. I wait for the tournament for another hour. It shot like 45 minutes later than it was supposed to. The tournament itself was fine, and I'll go over my games. But I want to tell you, like, just to use the bathroom as a competitor, you had to walk like around some barriers. It was like equivalent to a 1/4 mile round trip, right? Like, so you had to do that in between your rounds. If you had to go like number 1 or something. Right. So that's for like all like the 5 competitive games that were, or 4 or 5. Is there 5 or 4? Whatever. There's
a decent amount.
A billion competitive games. It includes side events. Right. I'm not going to jump into side events and how that worked at all, because it didn't. Just tell you the truth, they didn't work at all on Saturday. But as for the main tournament, everything was fine. I heard there was drama with the Gundam. There was like some collusion going on. They got dropped from the tournament at the last round. I'll just jump on that real quick, okay? So because this is the first Gundam regional, okay? So it's kind of a big deal. So they go to the last round in Gundam, and there's like a playdown. This is what I heard, and I think this is confirmed. Okay, so this is actual tea. All right, the last round they go and there's a playdown. Imagine you versus me. I'm undefeated. You're X-1. Okay. I think they offered the person undefeated to take the loss, like people around him, or maybe these 2 people. You offered me money, or let's say that, right? And then that way we're both in top cut no matter what, right? And then we move on to the next day, right? And the tournament's done there. You don't have to. No one has to like sweat it. The guy who's the play down doesn't have to sweat it anymore, right? So that happened, and then people around them told the judges, I guess. And then they were both disqualified.
Yeah.
So 2 people got pushed up. They're like, "Oh, sick! I got pushed up." So I didn't know I was on top of it until after.
Bandai's super against intentional draws, where it's like that's a thing that has existed in like Magic the Gathering for a long time, where like draws exist in tournaments, and then you can intentionally draw for breakers and stuff.
Yeah.
But Bandai is like super against it in all of their games.
I think the thing is, let's say you were to do that, and I don't think you should do that. Be clear, don't do that, right? But if you were to do that, be smarter about it. Like literally, like don't do it right in front of everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, or pretend you lost on purpose, like, well, actually lost. Like, I don't know, like if you do it so blatantly where people do that, let's say you did it so blatantly it looks like you actually are guilty of it. Like they have no way of actually proving it, right? It's when people are dumb criminals, that's where it's like stupid, right? So like,
What'd you take to the tournament, by the way?
oh yeah, we'll talk about my experience now. I took blue, purple Luffy.
Okay.
I topped at my locals the previous week to go to Vegas.
Mhm.
Took the exact same list, right? Mine's a little different than others, right? I actually got top 64. My tiebreakers were really golden, being X and 3, right? I faced a lot of really good players. And I
Nice.
hard through 2 games. I have like a whole match report about that coming out soon, so just kind of stay tuned to my channel, right? I go over my matches, but I hard through, and I'm telling you, these were big bad mistakes. And one was like round 4 and round 9, and there was no like, oh, I was tired, oh, I was new, I was none of that, none of the normal excuses. It was just pure TCG Tylenol. I have no idea. It was dumb, right? So
Yeah. But still, so you ended X and 3, top 64.
Yeah. So a big success for me, actually.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Because then you get like some of the championship prizing packs that like last time around, wasn't there like a Capone that was like $2,000 or whatever, just because there's so few copies of it?
That was the first Nats. I would have given anything to be top 8 in that one because I was X2. But I had like bad tiebreakers, right?
Yeah.
This one I pulled the Luffy, the Rocket Luffy. That's his top player on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a chase card. Everyone, there's like a Chopper. That's the Foxy Pirate one. Nami, but like honestly, the Luffy's the chase one. And I pulled that one, so I never gotten a card graded, but I might get it graded. So I honestly huge success as far as that goes. And I also did Pirates League. Sure. I want to talk to you about that if you guys want to have time later about it or now. But that was also a mess. And I actually think Pirates League has potential, but it's also really hard to do. Like
Pirates League?
Locals. Yeah, have you not seen Pirates League before?
Was this series of like tournaments where people qualified for this one specific event?
Yes.
I like vaguely heard about it, but heard that it was only really going on through official Bandai stores.
Oh, that's like another one.
Too far away for me.
There's another one they're doing. Oops. That's another one that they were doing, right? To be honest with you, but this one was like it was through specific stores at your usually like your locals, like Eclipse Gaming. Mine was like Demolition Games, right? Some stores deserving, some stores undeserving, et cetera, et cetera. What you do is you go and then you'd win or lose, whatever, right? The top 3 players are made captains. Let's say those players couldn't make it. They would tell the people ahead of time, and then they would push other people up, right? To be a captain. And if you were a captain, you would get, if you won, you do a 3 versus 3, like a normal 3v3 would be actually. And we did that, but we did it with 2 people because our third guy had to go like after round 2. We were 2-0ing people. Like it was great. It was actually awesome. When you show up with 2 people and you're like, okay, like it was really funny but basically I was getting 2v1, right? And I'll go over that actually. So imagine you're in a 3v3 and you already had to give up a game because your other guy is like he had to go, right? And then basically, and you can
and you're allowed to give advice, right?
You're allowed to give advice. It's actually works against it. If your buddy gives you advice, it just doesn't help unless you're about to do something really stupid, like really dumb. Because I was in games where they're just like giving him advice, and the guy is like playing Blue Yellow Nami. Like I don't think you two know how to play Blue Yellow Nami versus UP. He probably knows better than you both, like how to play this match.
Yeah, it's somebody who brought an entirely different deck, giving someone advice on a deck they don't play.
Yeah, that's why I looked at my buddy. I was just like, "How you doing?" Okay, I'm not gonna give you advice because
to
be honest with you, you know what you're doing, but more than I do on that. So it was just so funny how that worked, and they were like, I was like literally like, you guys are actually making it like you're like telling, you're like they're like I can kind of hear them, so I can kind of like get an idea of what's going on in their head. A little bit too, so it's like damn, it's
so anyway. In those type of 3v3s you should definitely try and give advice as sparingly as humanly possible. I feel like just because like you said there's so many downsides of
Yeah.
your opponent overhearing? Are you really sure your advice is going to be
Yeah.
helpful to someone who probably plays the deck more than you?
Yeah, I would
Yada
say
yada yada.
it's actually better just to leave it alone unless you see something really stupid about to happen,
Yeah.
or cheating, of course. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
it was just really funny. So how it works is you do that. If you win your best of 3, your team gets 10 points. Okay, right, and then you do 5 games. It was 5 rounds, right? It doesn't matter how many teams there are. There's like 70 something teams. That's more than 5 rounds of things, right? And then on top of that, you'd have a support crew, right? Those are the next top 10 players that were able to come from your locals, from that local only. You can't just grab people off the street. They were part of your crew, your shop, right? And then they just played it wasn't like a 3v3, it was like just Swiss, like a separate tournament. Okay. And however many wins you got 1 point per win. Let's say you were part of your team, you got 1 point per win. You say you go 5-0, you get 5 points for your team. Okay. Which is it actually adds up. 10 people. If 10 people go 5-0, that's 50 points, right? That's the same as going, the other team going, 5-0. And so we actually did the math because we had no support crew. Even if we went 3-2, I threw one game really horribly, right? If we went 4-1, we had 40 points. We wouldn't even made it top 32 to get pricing. And how the pricing works is everybody in the support crew and the captain's crew get the same pricing. So, and it was like actual serious. It was like the holographic event, right? The Luffy event, right? And there was like a Shanks and a Yasop and like actual really, really good pricing. I just heard it took like 3 hours to hand out the pricing and calculate the points. It took like 3 hours to start the event, 3 hours to do the event, and then 3 hours to calculate the points. So a full business day just to do this one tournament, right? And our friend had to go because they took too long, right? To start the tournament.
It seems like an interesting idea, right? To make locals relevant and have some sort of camaraderie between people playing in the tournament and people that are like just from your local or whatever all together. Yeah. But setting up that kind of logistics is not easy. And I feel like, yeah, it's kind of a decent time to like transition to, you had your experience as a player and like, this was like our experience as a spectator.
Go ahead.
And it just kind of feels like so emblematic of the big problem of like Bandai Card Game Fest as a whole. It's just there's too much stuff going on. Trying to do all these events simultaneously just feels like it's good for no one other than maybe Bandai's budget. But like as a viewer, it's so frustrating to know that like, okay, I like One Piece and maybe I'll watch some Gundam. So that like not only do I have to deal with the existing live stream experience of break time between rounds, commentators yapping about who knows what to fill time. I also have games that I know next to nothing about because I think, like you said, it's 6 games. I believe it was Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Fusion World, Union Arena, Digimon, Gundam, One Piece. And these are all nationals that are being held at the same time. And it just makes the viewership terrible where like there's 2 games of One Piece on day 1. And then there was 1 game for the grand finals on day 2. And the grand finals on day 2 to watch was like kind of a complete disappointment because like the same thing almost happened. I feel like what happened between Jonas and Clyde way, way back in the day, where these 2 people must have just been exhausted. Because the Rayleigh, I feel like, played horribly all of the 2 of the 3 games, right? He just got 2-0'd in the grand finals, and that was it. Like, I watched it together with somebody and with my stream and chat as well. There were just so many turns where he could have had more options and could have left himself not dead to just a restand event. Like, not leaving Don untapped or not casting his Conqueror's Hockey. And
I do want to say something a little behind the scenes with that too. Like it's no disrespect to Aaron, but I heard Aaron won the previous round due to time. He
Oh,
won
really?
top 4. Yep, they finished the first game in 30 minutes. They only had 30 minutes to do 2 games. And when you're playing, it was Yost, Blue Purple Luffy versus Rayleigh in a timed match. You only have 3 life as Luffy, right? If you go to game 3. And I'm not saying Aaron's a slow player, but Aaron must probably plays a certain tempo he's used to playing, right? Consistently, and that doesn't exactly match for a 1 hour best of 3, which is a bigger issue, right? Actually, right? Competitively, like top cut should not be an hour. It should be like at least an hour and 15 minutes. And especially if it's literally Yost's game is a game who decides who goes to Worlds. Right?
Yeah.
That
Having
one
only
maybe
grand
shouldn't be timed
finals.
at all. Like
Yeah.
realistically, at the
they had-
very least, that one. You know.
So they had an hour to play best of 3, which is
Yeah.
isn't that normal for Magic?
They get a 1 hour plus a 10-minute overtime or 3 turns, which again, it's still not enough time no matter what. That's how all top cut is, by the way. Except for the very last round.
Yeah.
They give infinite time, right? For some reason. But like, yeah, it's not good in that scenario, because that literally Yost lost because of time. And now because of that, did we have like a little lackluster finals because maybe Aaron made mistakes and maybe shouldn't have gotten the finalist? Maybe, right? It definitely would have been more definitive if there was infinite time. Maybe he would have won that game against Yost, but we will never know because he just won it on time. Right.
Yeah.
That's
So
I feel like they should make top 8 untimed or something. Maybe you could start with only top 4, but having it only be grand finals just feels super awkward, especially on these days. But just like,
yeah, do other games have does Magic the Gathering or Pokemon in a top cut scenario? Do they even have top cut?
yeah.
Do they have time in those situations, or do they just have judge on the side saying you're playing too slow?
They just judge on the side usually. It depends on the level of event. Like the Pro Tour for Magic the Gathering was literally this past weekend. And for the Pro Tour, like the largest event of the year usually, all of top 8 is untimed. And in like smaller regular regionals or whatever, they do have usually top cut and then untimed for grand finals, and sometimes top 4 if it's like 1,000 plus man event. But yeah, usually it's minimum top 4 untimed, often top 8 untimed, but that's in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. It would be cool, at least at a top cut level, especially because it's a 2-day event. On the second day, they all get there at 8:30 in the morning. It's not like top cut literally went until 9 o'clock in the evening. You know, it was like maybe like 4 o'clock, you know, so.
What if the reason why they did that was because they had to have all those matches lined up for all those different card games to have the finales at different times?
I could
that would be
see
bad.
that. I could see that, but that could just be fixed by having more content creators there, literally streaming or recording the games. Right?
Yeah, it sucks that there is actually a bunch of really interesting decks in this top 32 from Nationals, right? Like, obviously, there's a lot of Blue Purple Luffy, there's a lot of Rayleigh, there's a lot of Zoro, there's a decent amount of Bonnie, but there was a bunch of interesting decks, right? We got top 8 Yamato, like 5th place Yamato, 6th place Katakuri.
Yeah,
like, that's so cool.
Can I talk about those two, actually?
Yeah, sure. Do you know about the people who are playing those decks?
So, okay, I'll go. I know Long actually very well. So the Yamato.
Okay.
I'll come back to Long in a second. Jimmy, basically, when people talk about Katakuri, like, oh, there's a Katakuri in Top Cut. They're like, oh, it's Jimmy. Like, he's just a Katakuri really good player. He actually Katakuri has a good matchup into things. I think we were talking about that recently, right? We're like, dude, we've been seeing Katakuri. It's been cooking. What the hell? Like, I can see this deck doing really well. So it did really well here. And it was like a player who literally just cooks with Katakuri. And I think it had more to do with the player. And actually, Long is an interesting person, right? and he's always been a very aggro player playing the fastest decks. Literally going to bed at like 3 or 4 in the morning, gambling all night, smoking, drinking all night, right? And then coming like literally with like the most like he did really well, and I think he ended up down because he went gambling right after, making some depressed tweets, right? But
That's crazy.
realistically, long. And I've played quite a bit of Yamato and stuff, right? That I asked him how he beat his opponents. He's like, he did a bunch of coin flips, like on a lot of things, right? He won because this happened and the opponent didn't have that, right? Like, and he beat, you should lose to Bonnie. He beat multiple Bonnies, right? And I asked him how. He's like, I just scammed them. I'm like, you just what do you mean you just scammed them? Like, I just drew really good and they drew really bad. Like, I can't even explain it. I'm like, that's crazy. I believe him, right? That's just kind of what he is. So
sometimes you just hit Zeus into Hody, kill him.
I don't even think it runs Zeus, but yeah, it's stupid. Yeah, it's he doesn't even run. It's really interesting too because it runs no 6-drop new card.
Yeah, that card has felt medium.
It's
two copies.
It's fairly no. He plays a 6. Is it Kuma, right? No 6-drop Kuma.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I thought you were talking about the 6-drop Momo
because it gives you a little more room to play out some things to kill your opponent with when you go for game, right? But he doesn't even do that. It literally is Toniyasu, buff up your leader, hit your opponent in the face, and then obviously Ashura Deji comes through so often, actually. In this deck, right?
I guess that's the Zeus replacement there, right? You just doji them, Hody, win the game.
It's also weird that he's only playing 3 of Itzu.
Yeah, but he's playing 4 Onami. It's like the same, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, 4 Onami like makes up for that banish, and then obviously he's running to a Dead Man's Game, and like a lot of trigger events. Like that's I played this at locals. I'm like, dude, I can't win a game. This sucks. Like this deck sucks. like how did he like win like top 8 or regional? And he in his words, he scams his opponents, right? He just
it is definitely one of those decks where you're just like balancing on the edge of a knife the whole game, but if you do it right, you just steamroll right over them, right? They never had a chance. And a lot of times it is like, I don't know. I like that One Piece has this interesting like gamble act to it where it's like, okay, I'm attacking you with some big number, right? Cross our fingers. Either you got the 2Ks or you don't, right? It like that sweat, I think, creates a lot of really fun games to both watch and play in where you're like, okay, I'm attacking for 10. Do you got it or not? And then, they extend the hand and you're like, yes.
Yeah. And a lot of the decks right now have that actual issue where they just run out of counter really fast. If you kill Luffy before you can use his leader ability, then you probably win. His leader ability is awful. The crazy thing is to me, Bonnie performed extremely well this tournament. Like there's a lot in top 32, right? That actually made top 32. With that couple grape Luffys, but like it's just what you'd expect for the meta, to be honest with you. But I feel like a card that maybe performed really well for Bonnie, in my experience, was actually 9-cost Zoro. It just solved a lot of problems. For some matchups this weekend.
I've been seeing that played a lot more to help both with both against the yellow decks and
my round 1 opponent. He went undefeated in Swiss. That explains my tiebreakers, right? A little bit, right? He went undefeated in Swiss, beating me because I have a good matchup with Bonnie. I beg for Bonnie, right? But I straight up just he Hody Jones to me into 9-cross Zoro, and I did not have a Mihawk for Hody Jones, and I had a Red Rock 1 turn too late for the Zoro. So I ended up losing because I couldn't remove the Zoro on curve. It's just a good card, But Bonnie decks actually have to be aggressive when it has to be aggressive, and if you don't have those options, right, then you're just gonna regret it. So
it's interesting that people have been picking back up Kid Killer, And it seems like that's something that might start happening more again because, man, it's true. It's like a little bit true now. And I think once we talk about PRB, it's going to be like a little bit more true. But like, it really is starting to become like a Hody Jones meta almost, where it's just like, damn, Hody Jones is so good in so many decks. And if you're not playing Hody Jones, then you're playing Dead Man's Game. And sometimes you're even playing both. And it's just like such a fundamentally powerful card against so many matchups where it's like, even your supposed bad matchup, which is blue purple Luffy, you can still win that matchup pretty consistently if you just prioritize mulliganing and digging and doing whatever possible to find yourself multiple Hody Jones ASAP. Which is why I think people really like the Bonnie as well and have been picking that up.
I will say that matchup's very peculiar. If you're able to Hody Jones on curve, it's good, but basically all blue purple Luffy's play like 4 Rosies, and they'll just get 2 Rosies out early. And I kind of want to give like a little secret to the matchup. If you're playing blue purple Luffy, the goal is just to get to leader ability, hopefully get 1 or 2 big bodies out, right? And then on the turn where your opponent goes their 9 or 10 Dawn turn, you do not have anything rested. You just play out, hopefully, another big body of some kind, or maybe even Sanji Rosie, and you have nothing rested. If you give them a chance to play a tempo Shanks or a tempo Doflamingo, where you don't already have too many cards on board, right? Then they actually kind of fall apart. They can't even play a Shanks anymore because you have 3 big bodies rested at them all at once, right? So yeah, it's kind of peculiar, and I had to learn that from Holden Miller. He just told me, don't swing. First hard pass. I'm like, oh damn, that's really good.
I love Holden Miller. He's so good.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny where more people have been starting to say that like maybe Bonnie is actually secretly the best deck in format for OP12, right? Where for a long time everybody thought it was Zoro, and then everybody's like, no, it's blue purple Luffy. But like the secret actual like first place deck might be Bonnie. Obviously, I'm a little biased as a long time green player, but it is just like so incredibly consistent, and it's so hard to stop what it's doing. And kind of like stopping the Bonnie leader ability is now like something that every deck is trying to look to do, whether it be play copies of Hody Jones of their own or Dead Man's Game or something.
Yeah.
Just because it's such an inherently powerful leader effect that if you don't think about how to play against it properly, you're going to lose a bunch of games, which I think is like what you're talking about. If you let them get the tempo Shanks or the tempo Zoro or the good Hody Jones, you'll just die out of nowhere.
About one thing, actually, I would believe 90% of the players there have tested blue purple Luffy, right? Or at least tried it and considered it. And most of the players that aren't on it that were there said that they just don't like the mirror, right?
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. That's why you even saw anyone playing any other deck, actually, in my opinion. They were like, oh, I'm playing Bonnie because I don't like the mirror of UP. But like I just dealt with the mirror. I was like, okay, I'll play 2 puddings and hope I draw it.
Yeah, I think Rayleigh and Green Zoro is still losing for blue purple, right? Like not drastically.
In my opinion, not really, especially with the amount of, I mean, it has an advantage, but like the amount of white snakes actually coming up, because
that's been an interesting one.
I played 2 white snakes. I was playing 1 white snake as well. I beat a Rayleigh. I had like actually a mind game against them. I played 2 double Rosie. I ditched 2 gear 2s to try to dig for a Gum Gum Giant. I had no other event, right? And then to my opponent, I literally said I must have had like 8 event cards in hand, right? So he must have believed I can counter out of a 15K swing, which I couldn't, right? So he didn't. So he went wide, which is usually correct, right? But it wasn't correct in this scenario versus going tall, right? Like a bunch of like 6K swings instead of just like a 15K swing, right? Ended up just being better for me because I just didn't have a Gum Gum Giant. And I got it later, but anyway, yeah, it's in my opinion, I think UP beats Zoro and Rayleigh most of the time. I know I think I talked to you guys this last time. I don't think I did.
No.
We because you guys are looking at the sim stats, right? How like Zoro has like a winning matchup into blue purple,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Right. We looked into that. We're like, what's going on here? What are the Zoros doing? Because in our testing, it just was not working for like Zoro. Like we're winning Zoro like most of the time on average, unless we like horribly break. And so we went through, we watched because I think if you buy this, and we were just watching through all the games that were above 2 billion elo where Zoro beat a blue purple Luffy. We watched like 10 games, and 9 out of 10 of those games, all the blue purple Luffys were making horrible mistakes and had horrible builds. They were playing the 10 cost Kaido that draws 4 cards, like 3 of them, like builds are like, this doesn't make sense why you'd ever do this. And they're also there was like middle of the game where like they had like a horrible build and like maybe in a bad hand, and we're like, this looks actually winnable. How did this blue purple Luffy still lose this? Right.
I don't know. It sounds like there might be some bugs towards actually getting the correct games for the replay thing, but
no,
it is interesting.
There's a way to look at it. You can filter through and say the only ones that they won, right? And this is the only ones that blue purple Luffy lost, right? That's how you filtered it, right? But this from our experience, and then people come up to people. I faced 4 Zoros. I lost to one because I omega through versus one. Like it was so bad, right? How hard I threw at the end of the game, but essentially, yeah, it's not that crazy. And I would tell them it's a winning matchup for Luffy if you're just playing the game. And
I believe
like,
you can get it to like 49%, but
yeah, I think going first is actually a big deal, though.
Yeah, and you just have to be on top of your game every turn, and that's like kind of the problem as well in those matchups.
Living at 0 life, baby. That's all it's about. 0 life gaming. Yeah.
But it was also interesting that we got the smoker in top 16, which is kind of like interesting to me, since that does seem like it is going to be the deck that is most improved by Premium Booster.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been the deck that I've been testing and Premium Booster the most. It's like red, green smoker with the new cards. Okay. And so he was on a Navy build with the 3-drop Rosinante and Kujaku. It's interesting. Still playing Ben Beckman as well.
I'm curious on why this guy brought this and what were his matchups, to be honest with you. But kudos for this guy, dude. Like, I just assume Smoker loses to Rayleigh, right? Am I wrong?
Rayleigh's tough, yes.
I mean, I think you would have to go. You have to go big and then hit board constantly, right? You would have to keep attacking board until you get to the point you control.
If Rayleigh, it's a race, right? This is going to be a race. If Rayleigh just gets you to 0, you lose. Like they just go unblockable. You can't counter out of a 15k swing at all. Yeah. Like, is there a possibility? Like 10-layer igloo is that 5k counter? Maybe they can count out of one time. Maybe once.
I assume he dodged Rayleigh, but like you're decent against Zoro. It's like close to 50-50 there, especially since you just have so many cards that are pretty big, right?
I think it's a fair deck. Actually.
Yeah, Chopper and Mihawk being really big blockers. And you are pretty decent against Blue Purple Luffy, and also pretty decent against Bonnie. Yeah, because if you just curve out against Bonnie with Hody Jones, it's very tough for them to deal with as well. And Beckman helps in that matchup a lot since it gets around Koshiro.
Okay. I'm curious what you're looking at as far as the builds for this. I guess is the next segment. Is there anything else you want to talk about deck-wise, Nats-wise? There's only one more tournament for OP12, by the way, which is Peoria this weekend on the 4th.
Yeah.
Right?
Peoria,
other than that, right to PRB.
I believe so. Peoria, Illinois. Yeah. It was nice that there's a bunch of different decks.
Bandai Capital, brother. That's if everyone complains about Peoria. If you should go to Peoria because it's You can always get into the tournament.
Eh? It's like I would say it's about a 4-hour drive. I just truck there. Maybe 3.5, maybe 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. They've had a lot of events there at Peoria by now. It feels like at least one every section.
Is it a national or is it?
No. It's just a regular regional. Top Cut Games. They are an org. That org lives there. Right?
Okay.
That's why they always have tournament there. They don't have it in Chicago, which they should just do.
Yeah.
It's a long thing, guys. By the way, Play TCG is not going anywhere as much as you want like Bandai to fire. But they're never going anywhere, right? They're the ones that dictate where orgs are allowed to actually put their tournament. And it's usually based off of a budget, right? For that specifically. So with those LCQs, maybe the budget went up. Maybe we can move out of Peoria, So
it would be nice. Yeah. Every time I look at the top cut of nationals, I'm just eternally disappointed that we basically got to see none of it. There's a random Bella Betty. There was an Enel that did well, right? There's the Smoker, the Kata, the Yama.
Actually, agreed. I actually think at nationals, you should actually be allowed, especially in Top Cut, every game should be televised or recorded, even for personal use. Yeah. Right? It'd be a logistics thing if it was a bad logistics thing. If it was like I could show up with my camera like this, Yeah. Like on my shoulder, recording all my like 10 rounds, right? But that'd be sick. And I actually why don't we have that in Top Cut where all 32 players are being recorded at all times, right?
Yeah.
Because that would be insane content, fun to watch. Even content creators can come up with their own cameras and just throw that out there and put that on their own channel. That would be sick. And I do actually, I've talked about this before. Worlds, every game should be recorded, streamed, or televised.
Yeah.
And it's only like less than like 30 people, right? It's just a local, right? It's not even a big deal, dude.
Yeah, me and Kevin were talking about it before the podcast, but I was just saying that like they have to change something about Bandai Card Fest or whatever, where it's just like they have to either if you're going to have all the events at the same time, you have to at least set up a feature match that lets you watch multiple games at the same time, right? Yeah. Like maybe create like, okay, we have 4 tables in the feature match. Here's a round of Digimon. Here's a round of Dragon Ball. Here's a round of One Piece. Here's a round of Gundam.
Did you watch One Piece Day? Did you watch One Piece Day?
A little bit. I don't think I watched the whole thing. Is that the one where they had like 3 treasure cups?
They had 3 regionals going on with 3 separate live streams for each pod at the same time for both days. And that was pretty much the golden goose of like streaming. If they did that for like at least like the same thing, like maybe one stream for each thing, which they've done that before, right? And had that, like that would have been, I think that's the bare minimum they should do. Like that's the bare minimum. One game each thing, different commentators, different live streams, right? Everyone's like saying the same thing, right? We're all saying the same thing.
Yeah, I was saying the only other.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
like the one other thing they could do is they could do them like in a row rather than all at the same time, right? Maybe you have it start on Thursday and then you do the entire Digimon tournament on stream and then you end that and then you go to the Dragon Ball tournament and you do like the whole tournament and then you end it and then do them consecutively rather than simultaneously. But the way they're doing it right now just isn't working. I think it sucks for the spectators. It sucks for the players. And yeah, it feels terrible.
Could be better. Way better.
I assume that the commentator was Eggman.
They had 10 commentators.
Yeah.
Eggman maybe commentated 1 game.
Really? I mean, because since he plays every single Bandai game there is.
Yeah. They had like a website and on their socials, you can watch everything. But they had like 10 separate commentators who have as much validity as Eggman of being there. Right?
Yeah.
So
Eggman ends up doing a lot of back end stuff for the stream a lot of the time.
just love Eggman. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't even think Eggman had. I talked to Eggman. He's like, I didn't have to do much. Like,
Yeah.
he was actually bored. Like, he wanted to do more. He wasn't able to. So,
I mean, all you have to do is just ship out GrandLine grinders, and we'll do our own commentary for you.
Yeah, exactly.
The two of us, we'll pair duo.
you know, if you guys know Mr. Voodoo?
Yeah.
He used to do live streams, and he had a camera on his shoulder. He was backpack streaming for regionals, and I'm like, did they tell him to stop doing that?
No, I don't know. He just hasn't been streaming as much
cool.
as he used to as well.
Yeah, but that, I mean, like, that's like really cool to do. Even if they're not like streaming it, if they can like record it and like put it like the next day. Because I actually think because as someone who's just at home, right? If you're like at a live stream, after the round's over, I get it. You're just so bored between there's actually more downtime than there is playtime, right? And that's actually really bad for like a live stream perspective and a spectator perspective, right? It'd be cool if someone just took the camera and just walked around the event and been like, "Oh, look at all these nerds! Oh, there's a carrot." You know, there was a carrot, by the way, who was like cooking. He bubbled out because he lost the last round. But
definitely, like, if they're not going to stream it, they should let somebody do it. Is definitely the call. But
fair,
yeah,
fair.
So okay. Go ahead. And
the results look nice. Deck lists look nice. There's just so many things that are wrong with Bandai Card Fest as an event, which is kind of unfortunate. But there's still going to be a bunch of upcoming regionals. We got one more OP13, but we got 4 tournaments in October, I believe, that are all going to be premium booster.
We have like
might be 3 in October, 1 in November.
4 or the 6 tournaments every month, right? We have 4 to 6 tournaments every month.
Yeah, until December. I think they usually don't have many tournaments around Christmas time, New Year's.
There's 4 in December though, early December already, and they're all offline. So
oh wow, okay.
The sign up was today. Again, Peoria, Toronto, Pasadena, and Dallas, right? And then they're probably gonna have something in January, but if I was to guess, probably nothing. And then February is Las Vegas. And the thing is, I know we're done talking about Nats, Kevin, but with the next Nats. Okay. People, obviously, everyone's expectations are way down. You should not go to Nats if you are just a spectator. Okay. Straight up. You are not, or expect to have a bad time. However, it is Vegas, so you can't just like walk out and like actually do something, right? So I could see that's more of a reason to go. And usually it's cheaper. Right now, it's just getting cheaper to travel to Vegas because Vegas is actually really down as far as like the rest of the world goes, right? Especially next year, gambling is actually a lot of people don't want to gamble next year. They changed like a lot of tax laws when it comes to gambling, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So there's gonna be so Vegas is actually kind of dying a little bit, right? As far as the city goes. I mean, so hopefully the price stays safe. But anyway, it's gonna be ran by Core. I've heard it's gonna be ran by Core. Obviously, Play TCG has their hands in it. They're gonna be helping officiate, getting things done. But as far as I'm aware, maybe it's just a rumor. I think this actually is a rumor. It's being ran by Core TCG, and so hopefully the events, including the side events and the main event, is just run better. And they have 4 months to make it better than it was this month. So. Yeah.
All else fails, you just go to Pawn Stars, right?
Yeah, or
you just leave the tournament in Vegas and go check out the Pawn Stars.
No,
store.
You just go gamble. Like that's
Yeah.
That's
oh my god.
Just don't get a hand.
My one advice is don't gamble. So, it's all right to gamble with cardboard crack, but I would not gamble with actual casinos or slot machines. Please
gamble responsibly.
Please.
Okay.
Sorry, I just feel like I had to say that. Sorry to be the one.
You're right.
The one downer. But
I think did you guys want to go over your smoker stuff or anything you want to say about Nats?
Yeah, Premium Booster is interesting. I think it's cool that they introduced this idea of new cards in a reprint set. And I think that's like a welcome idea.
Yeah.
But I think Kekfile mentioned it before the stream. And I after getting about 15, 20 games in on the new Premium Booster ranked sim that opened recently. It's definitely affecting the meta less than I think a lot of people expected. A lot of the cards are just a little bit not as powerful as stuff that's already existing in the format.
Did you guys go over the cards last week?
Yeah, we went over a bunch of
ago.
different like sample deck lists or whatever of like decks using the cards and what would be good lists.
Sure.
And after my testing, I can say it feels like the only cards that matter are the green cards and the red cards. So the blue cards don't really have a great home. The decks that they're in just aren't like good enough right now. Like the Jimbei is all right in Doflamingo, but Doflamingo's still kind of weak right now. Marco just felt like it hasn't had a good home as a blue deck. I haven't found a deck that can like really use Marco well, or that is like significantly upgraded by Marco in terms of its already existing spot.
Blue yellow Nami,
Yeah, but a lot of the blue yellow Nami lists are pretty tight, especially now that they run Sengoku 7 Warlords package.
I guess my main question is, why'd they make another Blackbeard card? Like, can they just stop giving support to this leader?
So
I guess, but I think Kebby has also realized that like the card is just less relevant than you might think in terms of like actually being an upgrade, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
The only bad matchup that Teach has that this Shiryu helps is maybe against Rayleigh, but it's not even guaranteed that it's better than the other Shiryu in that matchup.
I don't disagree, but it's a toolbox deck. Even having one of these in your deck, because it plays more one-ofs than BY Luffy, bro. Like, it's just another good option. But like, you guys already went through like most of the things last week. One thing I'm actually a little more surprised about, I haven't seen it, and it's really the main card that's like has a question mark on it, is the Luffy, right? People are saying this card's really, really, really good.
It is pretty good in green purple Luffy. It's basically a Magellan in green purple Luffy. You can't, same as Magellan, it's not relevant in the late game, but it can be quite relevant in the early game, especially in keeping your opponent off balance. It's one of those cards that is very much like, if you are a good player and you know your opponent's deck, it's a really, really good card. If you're not as good of a player and you just play it at a random time where you have 4 Dawn, it's like not as good of a card, because if you time it right to where like it's a key turn that your opponent needs to play something good, like I played a red green smoker and I lost to green purple Luffy because they played it on my Mihawk turn. Right, I was supposed to go to 8 Dawn, but they played the Luffy, so instead I only went to 7, and I couldn't Mihawk that turn, and I couldn't establish a blocker, and then he killed me on the following turn.
Oh, I need to read this card better. If your opponent's so your opponent has to be going to 10 Dawn. Oh, okay.
So it's only if they start the turn with 8 or more. Right? Okay. But if they have 7 Dawn and are going to 9, you can play this as well. Right? It's good as well against like Bonnie, where you play this if they're on 7 Dawn going to 9.
It's a tempo without like having a prolonged essay. It's a tempo, right? It's anti-tempo, right? It's very simple. I just didn't think it was as relevant because it's only a 4/5, right? Like, why not just play Sanji Pudding, right? And that or Zoro Juro. But I can see how that's mildly inconvenient for some decks, right? Because the main one I'm looking at, if I'm playing blue purple Luffy, is this Doflamingo. But we're actually thinking about it a lot more. We actually aren't loving it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's okay.
I've seen it as like 2 copies at most.
Well, it's just like, it's hard to fit this and Godthread, and you really want Godthread.
Yeah.
In your deck, right? And yeah, you can play an 8-cost Dofi build, but it actually comes down to preference. I don't like 8-cost Dofi and blue purple Luffy, right? I was unsuccessful with
Yeah.
it, right? So, but other than that, the law is good. The Kobe is Kobe really is that really broken
Yes.
in Smoker?
The Law and the Kobe are the Law, the Kobe, and the Jewelry Bonnie are the best 3 cards in Premium Booster, and it's not close. Like
Yeah.
the Jewelry Bonnie is actually a significant upgrade for Green Bonnie because you
Yeah.
just upgrade Uroge and play this instead. And as long as this is in play, you're like completely safe from Hody Jones or Deadman's Game. You can just always tap out, and because it's when attacking, there's no period where they can interrupt and rest your Dawn. So the first time they immediately attack with anything, you untap a Dawn, activate your ability right away, and you're like safe from any Dawn resting shenanigans. And it's like a cheap blocker that you can play off of Aatrox Kid. So like this card is actually a noticeable upgrade for Bonnie. It's really good.
Okay. Yeah, that is a noticeable upgrade. Okay. And the Kobe, it's a 4/6 realistically.
Yeah,
And it
it is.
KOs a card and
The
draws.
Kobe is broken in Smoker and pretty decent in Shanks and in
Kobe. Probably in Kobe.
in Kobe, yes, in the Kobe deck, yeah. But in Red Green Smoker, it's a 4 Dawn 7K body that draws a card on attack and also clears searchers and stuff. It feels like the card that Smoker was looking for, since Smoker was kind of like a fragile deck with only 4 life, and like your one card draw was Bonnie. And now that you have a second like really good card draw engine, because like getting rid of this Kobe is so hard. If you don't have a way to KO it, there's no attacking into it. It is really big and easy to defend.
Yeah.
And when this draws you like 2 or 3 cards a turn, it's really gross. And the Law has also just played out way better than I ever expected. It is like super sticky, can't be removed from the field by any effect because it can protect itself that way. And multiple of these clears a board really fast.
Yeah, and it's a punk hazard too, so it has +1K with Smoker. So
yeah, and in the Smoker deck, it's double searchable by Perona and Virgo as well.
So yeah, it's good. There's a lot of cute cards here, like we're saying, like you're gonna see a lot of BY Luffy showing up, Gecko Morias. But no, you're right. The red and the green cards are just the clear winners, but it really is just OP12 in disguise. Like I think we're overanalyzing it, but we're just talking about because that's what this is about today, anyway, right?
The caveat though, right? Like the Sabo and the actual Marco is not really until OP13. I mean, because this one you would probably end up playing in Sabu, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but it's really just a 2K. Like
it's a decent blocker that comes down for 3.
You have to have 15 or more in trash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
I mean, yeah, and
you could always get it back.
I do
with
remember
Dragon.
now that I just haven't seen Sabo be on top of any tier lists for OP13 lately. Because
it's a solid B tier deck.
Well, it's because the game resets in OP13, bro. Like, Emu, Ace, Zoro, and then those are the main decks, and then everyone's just waiting for the new Roger card. Once the new Roger card is actually in effect, then it's just Roger and UP Luffy in the mix of those two. Maybe even more Roger than anything, right?
The question:
there's definitely other things that you can play in the OP13 meta as well, right?
Yeah.
Like Purple Luffy's viable deck. Zoro Sanji has also been appearing because of the new Luffy, and the new Ace has actually been pretty decent as well.
You're right.
And then Green Zoro's good.
You're right.
I agree. The question more about the set, it would be: are any of these cards will dramatically change a leader, maybe like Smoker or anything like that, enough to where they actually could be competitive for the big tournaments from for a month, basically. I mean, because the issue with Smoker, Shanks, I don't think they'll even be competitive past OP13, period.
Yeah.
So I'm actually on the maybe on the thing like Lucky Roo probably won't be worth it long term necessarily because I don't think Shanks survives.
I don't think. Yeah, every deck beats Shanks. Like Shanks is not even like a question in my mind. Like it's not even like a thought. Decks they even think about anymore. Unfortunately.
The big upside of Shanks is how good you are against Bonnie. Like you're good against Bonnie, and you're pretty good against Zoro too.
I guess, but
so besides the big ones, so we only think really the only other rogue leader that got really much is just Smoker.
Yeah. Yep. Smoker gets like significantly improved. Bonnie gets moderately improved.
Great.
Shanks and Green Purple Luffy get like minor improvements. And everything else is also like minor and negligible improvement.
Yeah. Like I would say like Gecko's a fun card, the Pudding's a fun card, the Otama's a fun card, the Ace is a fun card, the Boa is actually more of an OP13 card.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun. Like if you're trying to mess around with Bonnie, you know. But other than that, yeah, no, you're 100% hit the nail on the head on there. It's all the same stuff, but you might see like an extra Smoker and Top Cut, you know.
So most of these cards are locals cards, and only a few of them are like regionals, nationals level cards. And I think we can talk about like the 2 Smoker lists that I have.
Sure.
That I played a bunch of games with. It is definitely the most tested, and I do think that like the big upside of Smoker is that like you do lose to Rayleigh, but you can get a very decent Bonnie matchup and a very decent blue-purple matchup, both with the combination of just like already being a Hody Jones deck and also having the new cards like Law and Kobe. Like Law is really, really good against UP because it's a sticky, hard to remove threat that lets you actually like engage in combat into their 9K bodies. And Kobe's really good against Bonnie because it's hard to attack into. They have to use a Carrot or a Shanks to get rid of it, and it clears all of their chump blockers easily while getting a bunch of card advantage. So this definitely feels like a deck that will like pop up in the couple of weeks that we have Premium Booster around, just because of how decent it is in the meta. And I had 2 different lists, one which is Perona and Virgo, where you're playing around the Slash package, which is like Kinemon and Law both being double searchable. And you have Spiderweb searchable off of Perona to get some extra blocks to untap your guys from like being frozen against Bonnie and stuff like that. And this is like the pretty simple and straightforward list. I think I even made one change to this list where I cut one Bonnie and I ended up playing a 4th Hody Jones just because like you want to see Hody Jones every single game.
It's the best Hody deck.
Like, yeah, it's an insane Hody deck. When you play Hody for 4, it feels pretty busted. And then the other version I had, which I kind of like as well, the Slash version feels a little bit like the Perona version feels a little bit better against blue purple because you can search Mihawk. This is a Navy version where we're playing Kujaku, which lets us search for Kobe being the big one and also Honesty Impact. Honesty Impact is a card that's like really, really good against Bonnie in terms of KOing their 6K bodies like Carrot, Cavendish, and then also being able to shrink something else and attack into it.
Could I recommend a card instead of Honesty Impact? I feel like maybe you're biased a little bit facing too much Bonnie, right? But I'd almost like recommend. Well, is there a problem taking out Honesty Impact and playing a card like Monet? so you can get more value out of your Kobe. I mean, maybe that's not done.
Kobe's original power.
Oh, it only kills. Oh, okay, never mind. I take everything back.
Yeah. And definitely like one of the issues with Smoker is that both of these lists are very tight on searchers. Both searchers hit like only 20 cards or 21. So I have lost games of Smoker just because I went searcher whiff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the downside of the deck right now. But the curve outs this deck can have where you just dump your entire hand into play, this does feel like more and more similar to green purple now, where it's just like dump my hand into play. I have Mihawk plus some 2-Dawn event to hold up to survive. Like you get to spam, like the combination of Mihawk, Chopper, and Bonnie does actually just make it very hard for you to die outside of an opponent's Hody Jones. And this one's slightly more aggressive where we're playing the 3-drop Sanji as well. But I'm not sure which of these versions I like the most. I've been leaning towards searchable Mihawk, but the abundance of blockers and removal and now having actually access to card draw makes me really feel like this will be like a good choice for the couple of premium booster tournaments that we have. Though Kebby is right, this is not really a deck that survives into OP13 the way it's currently built.
Yeah,
but you may have fun with the local.
That's the question I want to actually bring up because we talked about it a little bit earlier, and the threshold between tier 2 and OP13 actually to be competitive is quite a way bigger gap. So what cards actually out of this with old leaders stand a chance because they get that little bit of extra push to be able to stay in the lower side of what you would consider the power range from OP13? That's more of the question I think is really important, because does this make Great Luffy strong enough to stick around past OP13?
I mean, OP13 is a whole different game. Like literally, they could just literally delete the game as it is and just call it OP13.
I think that GP Luffy has been showing up occasionally in OP13, but it is very tough against Emu because the Emu removal spell destroys original cost, so you can't even get around it with stage.
Yeah, they're not even staging anymore. Even in PRB, they're no longer using stage. So
yeah, and the other thing is, you guys mentioned that you think Red won. I mean, are any of these 3 cards, or do they actually going to see play in OP13?
Are they played in Ace?
No. No. It's just Marco, really, but none of the red cards,
That's actually one of my concerns. Like you guys are saying that the winners was red, but I don't know if this pushes red into a position.
We're just comparing all the cards to each other. Like, like the thing is, last year for PRB, we got 1 new card. That was Sanji leader, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is like, oh, we have more cards. Let's see whose card's bigger, bro. Right? So that's really what this is, just a measuring contest to see who got the better cards out of this. Yes, and it's like measuring like good smelling poop and bad smelling poop.
But if you're looking at this through the scope of OP13, green and blue won because Marco is probably the best card out of this entire grouping, like in Bonnie for OP13.
I don't know.
Because Marco sees play in Ace, doesn't it?
Yeah, Marco's the big one and sees play in Ace. Like Jinbei, Doflamingo did make a little bit of a comeback in OP13 because it's actually decent against Emu and decent against Ace. Yeah. Where you just are on 4 copies of Unblockable event just
are they
to
even on this
kill them.
I don't even know if this Jinbei like breaks or makes the deck. Like,
usually they're on 2 copies.
Yeah,
2 copies, 3 copies.
It ain't that crazy. This card ain't that crazy. It ain't breaking. They should make a Jinbei that lets you call out another 7 Warlord. That'd be a pretty good card.
Yeah, damn. Damn, you're kind of cooking. I wonder why they haven't made that card yet.
It'd be so great. But other than that, like the other card that's like mostly used out of this is actually the Boa, because it's like played in
in
every yellow
Yeah.
deck to play for this because
because Zoro is kind of a big one too. Like the green Zoro 2K,
what's Zoro
he's
do?
playing a lot of green decks where like they play it in they play it in GP Luffy, they play it in Bonnie, and they played in green Zoro.
Is this card really that good? Like,
It's pretty good, yeah.
is it just like as a 2K or as an actual card you play out? Like, it just doesn't.
Both.
The more I look at it, I'm like, this only does well if it was to be rested.
Yeah.
Okay. Like
You can just set up situations where
That's like
you're
one
Hody
deck.
Jones proof.
that's like one. It deals with one like color, which is green. Like black doesn't rest, blue doesn't rest, red doesn't rest.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Yeah, this card's ass. That's right.
No, having a 2K blocker is just way better than you think. Just like having a 2K that you can also just play as a blocker late game.
Mm-hmm.
It's really strong.
If it was a one cost, it'd be pretty good.
No, but like
it's
the 2K purple Sanji blocker is really good. The 2K red Uta blocker is really good and sees a lot of play. Like just 2K blockers are just very solid.
I was gonna say he is right though. If this was a 1K blocker that was also a 2K counter and had this text, it would be too busted.
The thing is, that's a great thing about 2K counters. At the end of the day, you're like, oh, sick, it's a 2K counter. No matter if it's usable or not, I'm going to use it as a 2K, right? So if they made everything a 2K counter, then we could say that about every card, right?
So like, one of the questions I guess would be: is Luffy, purple Luffy's, any of them, are they even really good in the next OP13 meta? Is this Nami worth anything?
Blue purple Luffy's good. I don't think you play this. I don't know if this is played in. Is this played in Grape?
Yeah, it's played in Grape, and green purple Luffy is decent in OP13.
Yeah, it's very
because
good.
they do get access to the double striking Luffy that untaps 4.
Okay. But like mono purple Luffy, I don't even know if they play this card realistically. Like this card's a Grape Luffy, like okay card. Like if you like if someone played that card, I'd like read it and be like, oh, okay. It like the problem is it still whiffs if you search a Nami, right? It could still whiff if you search Namis and like no other straw hats. So
yeah, there's not that many other Namis.
You're
but
probably not whiffing with that in Grape though, unless you see like 4 Namis.
Yeah, you only play it in Grape right now. It doesn't go in purple Luffy, and black purple Luffy, as much as I like it, kind of has been relegated to the dustbin, kind of, or to the for fun bin.
Yep.
Oh, black purple.
It has 4 life. That probably is a huge factor, right?
Damn it, dude! I gotta. Those giant Luffy leaders, dude. Dang it, not usable.
I mean, Roger. I mean, are you gonna play? You're gonna play purple Luffy or black purple Luffy if there's Roger?
Probably not. No. Yeah. But have you seen those Luffy leaders though, Kebby?
I love black purple Luffy. So yeah.
Okay, I get that. Have you seen the leader cards they gave out of Nats?
Oh no.
They're. Do you see me right now, like on camera here? Okay. They made they're this, the leader is like this big, like larger than this. Like it's a leader card, like alt art, black purple Luffy leader.
So it's about the size probably of your monitor, if you like a normal monitor.
Maybe bigger than that. Like it's they basically, instead of doing an uncut sheet, they did one large card and it says you can't play it on the bottom, like not playable. Like
just show up to your logo.
That was a top 8 pricing. Was instead of an uncut sheet, they gave you one big ass Luffy card. It's called a jumbo leader. Like
I'm
that's
jealous.
Yeah, pretty cool.
I don't know. Uncut sheet seems cooler.
Well, if you have $10,000 extra dollars, you can definitely get one. You know,
if I had it, I'd still go buy an LGS and play it. You ain't gotta stop me.
For sure. Like, can I proxy real quick? Just okay. Let me just pull out my big leader here. Like,
I know that everybody's worried about OP13, and I'm like eternally an optimist. Where I know that OP13 is incredibly powerful, But I do think there's like, there still is a decent amount of viable decks in OP13. You just kind of do have to build around OP13 cards or OP13 leaders.
I totally get that. My thing was more about what leaders can survive. Because I want more leaders to survive.
Leaders have to win to survive. Like what's surviving? Like for you, like if you go to locals, what's survive? Is that going like if you have a 4-round locals, do you have to go 3-1? Is that surviving? Is 2-2 dead?
I would say maybe top 64 in Nats.
Top 64. Everything's dead.
That's a big bar. Yeah.
Like local, like most
that's
of the
really
games
tough.
that are played of One Piece are at a local level. Right?
Yeah. But
we're trying to be we're just trying to be like, okay, dude, maybe it can like.
I'm trying to get something that you can get a 4-0 or a 5-0 with, right?
If you're like Nats and you expect a top 32, it's only going to be like 6 decks, like
top 64. I was saying, I was saying, I would think surviving means it has to be a deck that can top 64 in Nats.
I don't know. Nats is a big thing. Yeah, there's just very few decks that can do that.
Maybe at an LCQ, but like this last Nats, we saw 1 Enel. We didn't even see a yellow kid in top 32.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't even see. Yeah, it's tough. Like this game, when everyone tries to play and win, all of a sudden the game's a lot harder when you play a leader that just doesn't give you a lot of opportunities to win the game.
I should change my criteria.
Yeah.
You can make it to day 2.
Yeah, okay. Day 2 is a reasonable one. But day 2 is top cut,
that's even harder. Like
Yeah. It's not like Magic where day 2 is,
maybe let's how about this?
Yeah, because Magic, like as long as you don't get 2 losses, you make day 2.
Yeah. I don't know your expectations, KBG, of like what people expect to do. Normally, if it's 10 rounds, a good expectation is X and 3. Like if they go X and 3, they can't really be that upset. A lot of really good players get fucking so upset if they lose 1 game, bro. They get like they crash out immediately. They'll lose like the very last round in Swiss when they still have top cut and they're up. They're actually mad. But most players, if they go X and 3, that's the goal. So how many? I guess to say that what decks will go X and 3 that aren't Emu, Ace, and Zoro and Roger and Luffy.
Yeah, it's right? Emu, Ace, Zoro, Roger, Blue, Purple, Luffy.
Not a lot.
You don't think Sabo could do that?
Sabo, you also have Sabo.
You might see 1 Sabo.
Yeah, Sabo.
You might see 1 body.
Red, green, Luffy's an option
yellow
as well.
Body, by the way, not green body, yellow body.
Yeah. So. Red, green, Luffy is decent as well and has been putting up some numbers.
You might see 1 red, green Luffy.
Yeah, you could see 1 copy of Sanji, Zoro, and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I don't know. I still am kind of constantly trying to be like, okay, OP13 is next month. There's still 5 tournaments this month that are going to be premium booster. And I think those tournaments will be interesting. There's going to be a couple of new things from premium booster. But I think it's going to be mostly the same old decks from the top 10 with like the 1 exception being Smoker getting an upgrade. Otherwise, it's like GP, UP, Shanks, Bonnie, that type of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. But but the issue we were talking about today is a lot of the leaders need a lot more than this if they want to stay relatively competitive.
I feel like they're literally trying to remove the old leaders by making better leaders.
Yeah.
You actually you have to just let go of your old leaders, unfortunately.
They clearly feel like the power level of set 1 is too low and it's not something they want to do. They do want to make the power level a little higher. I hope they keep it at a certain point and don't ratchet it up too much, but we'll have to see how it goes. You never know, right? But
yeah.
Okay.
But still, I just want to stress again, there's 4 or 5 tournaments this month in the premium booster format. So if you want to play the premium booster format, it is still pretty good. You're going to be getting these, new cards anyway if you get the reprint set, because you'll get a bunch of reprints, but decks will also be cheap for a little bit. So get the cards while they're cheap, play in the tournaments. I think it'll be a good format.
Or buy high and never sell. Okay. All right.
Advice of the century. But I think
I think it's a podcast. Anything else?
Yeah, I think we can move on to closing statements or whatever. I am going to continue my role of being somewhat a font of optimism, just because I think that like there's things to complain about this game, but good God, there are games that are so much worse. And
yeah,
like regionals are fun every weekend. It's nice watching them and doing stuff and playing in them. And I'm going to be playing in some tournaments, so you'll be seeing me playing in 2 regionals in October.
Oh my God.
So definitely check that out. I'll probably be playing Bonnie. Maybe I can get the cards together for Red Green Smoker myself. That would be cool. But yeah, we'll worry about OP13 when we get there. And then we'll have to start worrying about OP14. But I guess that's my channel, the Halfbreed. Keck, do you want to do any plugs before Kevin does final words?
Yeah, for me, guys, just follow me at Keckfilet, both on Twitter and YouTube. I'm posting a couple videos on YouTube. Trying to bring down the content slop a little bit. Okay. So I could, I actually have a saying now, I cook with love. So I'm now making videos with love, but follow me there.
And make sure you guys smash that like button on this podcast, share this podcast around. Let's get the subscribers up and let's get the views up as well on this podcast series. So for me, like I'm also excited about the PRB format. I'm gonna be testing a lot, but at the same time, I also have to keep a realization I only have a certain amount of money since I have 2 kids. I can't just willy-nilly spend money. So that's why I'm like in this weird predicament emotionally where I'm like, I don't really want to invest until OP13. So it's like, that's where I think me and DeHalfbreed had that little bit of a conflict on stream one time, is because I have that mindset. I only have a certain amount of money and I rather just know what I would need to invest in. But make sure you guys, like I said, look at in the description below. I'll put all of our links to our Twitch accounts and link Keck in the actual title. So go check out his YouTube there. And we'll talk to you guys next week.